good, everyone? Welcome to KGW's 3-on-3 Blazers. My name is Orlando Sanchez. Jared Cowley on my right. Nate Hanson is on my left. And the one and only Max Barr on the ones and twos. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another edition of our Blazers podcast. Feels good to be home, right, guys?
Yeah, I bet it does for the Blazers.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in Portland the entire time. They missed all the snow and everything. That was the one benefit of them being gone for like almost a month.
Go to the East Coast. Felt like I haven't seen a Blazers game in years.
It's been, what?
3 weeks?
3 weeks.
When was the last time you've been to the Moda Center, Orlando?
I'm getting lonely, man.
Yeah, come on.
It was becoming a Wednesday, Friday type deal, or a Wednesday, Thursday, or a Wednesday. I was there all the time, man. When you get something taken away, you start to miss it.
You don't realize what you had until it's gone, right?
So I'm glad they're back tonight against Oklahoma City.
Tonight is going to be, I think, like the first game for the Blazers that kind of feels like a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a few of them down the stretch. The games against the Nuggets come to mind immediately that last week of the year. But I think tonight is going to be the first one where it really feels like a playoff-type atmosphere for the Blazers, because this is really as big of a must-win as you can have with a month left in the season.
Mm-hmm. A three-way tie for third place in the Western Conference.
It seems, even though I think that this might be overstating it, it seems like if whoever loses this game isn't going to end up with the 3 seed.
Yeah,
I think you have to win this game to have a chance, not just because the Thunder and Blazers are tied, but the Rockets are playing really, really good basketball right now. So
we'll get into our predictions and this game in particular a little bit later, but we got 3 questions, 3 answers. There's 3 of us. You know the drill. Number 1, Blazers finished their 7-game road trip with a 5-2 record. So what has impressed you guys the most about Portland's performance since the All-Star break?
For me, it's just the starting 5, that unit of 5 players, which, I mean, some people have criticized, throughout the season that Terry Stotts has stuck with that group of 5 of Nurkic, Aminu, Harkless, McCollum, and Lillard. But they've been consistently effective together this year. But it was on another level during this road trip. They were dominant during this road trip. They had the net rating was plus 26.5 during the 7-game road trip when that unit was on the floor. Not only were they dominant offensively, their offensive rating was something ridiculous, like 127, but defensively their rating was 101 during that stretch. So they were doing it on both ends of the floor, and obviously the first player that comes to mind is Maurice Harkless. He averaged nearly 13 points per game during that road trip. He was a menace defensively. He was what we hoped Maurice Harkless would be coming into this season. And then Jusuf Nurkic also. I think it flew a little bit under the radar how good he was during that road trip, because I think we saw, December, when he had about a 10-game stretch where he played really well, and we kind of talked about him in the All-Star conversation. He played at that level during that road trip. I mean, he averaged 18 points, 10 boards almost a game. He shot 60% from the field. He was a consistent, reliable big man threat down low for the Blazers the entire road trip. And Al-Farouq Aminu quietly had himself a really good road trip. I think he shot 52% from 3 during the road trip. And then CJ McCollum also had a strong road trip. So it's something when when Damian Lillard didn't play his best in probably any of those 7 games, and the Blazers still go 5-2 against the competition you saw, that's really impressive, and it speaks to how good that starting 5 was.
Yeah, I think the starting 5 has been good all year, but you're right, they did take it to another level, and that net rating of plus 26.5, net rating is the number of points you score per 100 possessions. That's just off the charts. I mean, the Blazers' starting 5 for the season is outscoring teams by 8 points per 100 possessions. So to notch that all the way up to 26.5, I mean, the best 5-man unit in the NBA is actually the team the Blazers are playing tonight, and that starting 5 is outscoring teams by about 11.5 points per 100 possessions. And the Blazers, since the All-Star break, again, plus 26.5. I mean, it's just a crazy number.
Absolutely dominant.
Yeah. So there are so many, it's hard to pick just one thing about this road trip that impressed you the most, because there were so many impressive parts of it. And you talked about Maurice Harkless and Jusuf Nurkic. I completely agree with both of them. Maurice Harkless was surprising, and Jusuf Nurkic just continues to dominate and is having a very underrated season, at least on a national level.
Yeah.
I think that in Portland, fans appreciate him and recognize what he's doing. But he's having just a phenomenal season and is playing great basketball. But what I noticed on the road trip the most for me was C.J. McCollum.
Okay.
And we talked about C.J. McCollum in the past this season and have talked about his subpar season, and he's taken a lot of grief for not having as good a season this year. And we talked about how we weren't really worried about his shooting slump, he's having earlier in the season, because that's what happens with shooters and scorers. Mm-hmm. But for me, what concerned me about McCollum was his lack of playmaking and his mediocre defense. And what I noticed just watching the games on this road trip is both of those were improved. And this kind of came about naturally, where I'd see C.J. McCollum break some guy down off the dribble and then find an open teammate for an easier basket. And I'd be like, oh, wow, I haven't seen a lot of that this season. That's great. Or I'd see him, dean someone up really hard, and I'd be like, that's great. That's what I want to see out of C.J. McCollum. Because when he's playing at peak level McCollum, this team is so much better. And I think that is part of the reason why you see the starting lineup playing so well. Just talking about his playmaking, since the All-Star break, he's averaging 3.9 assists. And if you remember, before the season, he said if he wanted to be an All-Star this year, which he wasn't, but if he wanted to be, he needed to get those assists up to about 4 per game. Well, since the All-Star break, he's doing that. Before the All-Star break, he averaged 2.8. So that's way up. His assist rate, and that's the estimated percentage of teammate field goals you assist on when you're on the court, is at 15% right now, which is up from 12.5% before the All-Star break. And that's a big jump for assist rate. So he's just doing a better job of trying to find teammates who are open to get them easier baskets. And that not only makes things easier for him, that trust that it engenders in his teammates in him is invaluable. And on defense, his defensive rating is better. Since the All-Star break, it's when he's on the court, the Blazers are allowing 107.1 points per 100 possessions. That's better than before the All-Star break when it was 108.9. And so he's doing these intangibles that I really want to see from him in order for him to improve. And he's also shooting really well. Yeah. I think you mentioned it. He's shooting about 47% from the field and the three-point line. So I hope he can keep it up, because this level of McCollum makes the Blazers a much more dangerous team.
A little bit better than glorified Lou Williams, as you called him earlier this season,
yes.
Jared.
Man, you had that in your back pocket.
I'm never going to forget that one, man.
He looked through his Jared Cowley Rolodex there. He was like, oh, okay, shade right here.
I stick by that.
that one's always in the holster, my friend.
To your point, though, with C.J. McCollum, it made me think back to the Raptors game.
Yeah.
And when he's playing that well, the Blazers are playing at a level amongst some of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
And that was a tough place to play, and that was a game they could have won.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of credit goes to what C.J. McCollum was able to do.
And that was a game they could have easily just given up.
Without a
and
doubt.
been like, this isn't our day. This is a really good
Rest
team.
Our guys.
I mean, they were down, 16 in that game before making the comeback and taking the lead before, obviously, Kawhi hit that shot. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it speaks to C.J. and some of the other guys on this team.
I think for me, one of the most impressive things about this was winning 5 games on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they were garbage
they were 10
on the road.
and 15 before this road trip.
Yeah, like, I remember saying, if they could go 4-3 somehow, they would be in great shape.
I remember thinking if they went 3-4, that'd be dodging a bullet.
Even that, yeah. And so I think that, it's kind of an overarching theme, but going 5-2, 3 weeks away from home, is a big deal for them.
It is. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like the way it ended, it's like a dual-edged sword, Because, like, if you had said before the road trip that they go 5-2, you would have been ecstatic.
Yeah.
But if you had told them they're going to be 5-1, have, controlled the game against the Grizzlies and
for 40 minutes.
And then let it slide away the last 8, you'd be there, there's a little bit left in that. And it's not that they lost to the Grizzlies. Every team has losses like that throughout the season. It's just right now, with how close the race is for home court advantage right now.
You're splitting hairs now.
Any loss for Portland is going to be a crucial loss.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, because almost always it's, what have you done for me lately? Especially on this podcast. And that dictates our mood going into this thing. But so much of that point is based on how tight this race is.
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Washington back in October, but we don't really remember that because of the fact that that happened 4 months ago. Now it's crunch time. And, the Grizzlies loss is tough, but you kind of, as a fan, have to look at it big picture, right?
And I'm still not mad about that Grizzlies loss. the Grizzlies have motivation to play hard because if they win enough games, then they can convey their protected draft pick this season. I believe it's to the Celtics, I think. And so they have this motivation to win games so that they can start next season with a legitimate rebuild and not have a draft pick when they're not going to be good next season that's owed to another team. And so you expect them to come out and play hard and play well, and the Blazers were tired. I mean, you saw that in the latter half of the fourth quarter. They stopped playing defense and started reaching and slapping. And when you see a team do that, it's at the end of a 7-game, 13-day road trip, that's what happens.
Max, I know you saw Conley's kicks, by the way. Anyway,
his eyes are huge.
Maurice Harkless.
The Concords, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
He was rocking the Concords,
Yeah.
man. But credit where credit's due. I don't want to repeat a lot of what you just said, Nate, but Maurice Harkless for me.
Yep.
We've said over and over again, Damon said he's the X factor. And, they finally screwed up his stat by losing to the Grizzlies, where he scores in double figures and they automatically win.
Yeah.
But this guy is just playing on another level, and he is a big reason why that starting lineup that you guys have mentioned is playing so well as a whole. Yeah. All right, question number 2, guys. Since the All-Star break, the Blazers reserves rank number 21 in the NBA in bench scoring at 31.4 points per game, number 28 in bench plus minus at minus 4.3 points per game. Should the team be concerned about the production from the bench, Jared?
Well, yes, of course, because the bench is not performing well.
Yes, of course we should be concerned.
Let's move on. So that, if you don't know what the plus minus means, it just means that when the bench is on the court, they're being outscored by 4.3 points per game. That's normal plus minus. So that's not good. And you see the ranking of it. That's 28th, third to last in the NBA. So that's not good. I think that yes, I am concerned, and the reason for concern is you saw it on the road trip, and I'm concerned that as this bench tries to gel and figure things out, you'll continue to see it, where when the bench gives away significant, big leads, that can lead to the Blazers, in turn, giving away games that they should win. And like you said, right now, you can't give away games. No. Like, every single game matters, every win matters, because this playoff race is so tight. And I'm also worried about whether this bench unit can gel before the playoffs begin, because that's when it really matters. If the bench isn't performing at least, holding a lead, level, then maybe the Blazers don't have a shot at getting out of the first round again. I think the bench needs to be able to perform. So yes, there's reason for concern, but at the same time, they are struggling, and it's understandable. Because you're trying to integrate, Rodney Hood, but that's not as big a concern for me, but you're trying to integrate Enes Kanter. And I don't think the Blazers bench has had such a high usage, dominant offensive presence. And I'm not talking just like, he's dominant on the court. Just like someone who demands the ball, and the ball runs through him so often, like they have in Kanter, maybe since Mo Williams, like 6 seasons ago. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, think back to every bench unit the Blazers have had. They haven't had someone who's just, a go-to guy. Yeah. Enes Kanter's usage rate since he came to the Blazers, and usage rate, if you don't know, it's the percentage of a team's plays that a player uses while he's on the court. And Kanter's usage rate is 23%. Now, for comparison, Jusuf Nurkic is at 23.4% for the season. So it's a very high usage rate. Yeah. And no other player other than Evan Turner, who's right around 20 for the season, on the Blazers bench has a usage rate higher than 16.8 this season. So integrating a player like that who demands the ball so much and who the offense runs through on a bench unit that's not really the way they operated before Kanter got here, it is going to take time to gel. But the silver lining for this is that's the way the starting lineup plays a lot, is through Jusuf Nurkic. So once they get all this figured out, it might be easier, kind of just continuing what the Blazers do with the starting lineup once the bench is in, rather than switching things up with different kind of centers like, Myers Leonard or Zach Collins, who aren't the same kind of players as Jusuf Nurkic. So I'm concerned, yes, but I understand why it's happening, and I hope that they figure it out quickly.
So you're not trading the bench yet on 2K?
No.
Not happening yet?
I've made no trades on 2K for a while.
Oh, okay. Jared's happy then.
Yeah.
He went through an entire road trip without making trades on 2K. How about that?
That's a win.
That's impressive.
The Blazers should feel good, really good about that road trip at this point. That's like the barometer right there.
Yes, I'm sure they care about my 2K habits.
Yes. So I'm not as concerned as Jared is. Mainly because Jared mentioned the gelling together. Like, that's going to take time. This is a completely new bench because of how much they use Enes Kanter.
Right.
And you are putting in Rodney Hood as well into that group. That's a shooter that they didn't have previously. And they also haven't had Evan Turner for the past few games. A guy who, for the most part, was running and facilitating the second unit. And you've talked about CJ, how you felt he improved on this road trip in terms of facilitating and getting other players involved. He or Seth Curry is often the player to run the offense when Damian Lillard is on the bench. And while he's better, it just doesn't feel the same. Jared and I talked about this the other day about how next season it feels like they have to get like a backup point guard because they just haven't had that type of player who can run the offense like that in the second unit. And so when Evan Turner comes back, the hope, I think, for Terry Stotts is that he would be able to provide some of that facilitation, and that may help some of these shooters get some better looks as well. And the other reason I'm not as concerned is shooting is about streaks.
Yeah.
And the Blazers, the three players you would say are shooters off the bench for them, Seth Curry, Jake Layman, Rodney Hood, all struggled shooting from three during that road trip. Seth Curry had the best mark at 38%, but for his average for the season, that was down.
Yeah.
Layman only shot 20% from three in the road trip. And Rodney Hood, despite dominating the Hornets and making shots from the logo, only shot 26% from three during that road trip. I don't expect that trend to continue, through the rest of the season and into the postseason. If they granted, they can't shoot that badly, obviously, for a postseason series, because they just went through, essentially, in a 7-game series doing it.
Right.
But I don't expect that to consistently be the theme for them, so I'm not yet to the point of concern. I think they'll begin making some shots. And this second unit was never about defense. This second unit was about being able to score. Once they knock down shots, they'll start scoring again, and I think everything will be okay.
I side with you, Dave, on this. I don't really think there's... They won 5 games on the road.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, that is the bottom line. I'm like, what are the results? Now, you could feel a little uncomfortable because they blew massive leads against the Cavs. Yep. They blew a double-digit lead against Charlotte. Yep. And, of course, the game that they actually lost against Memphis. Yep. So if you do want to go that route, I don't disagree with you completely, Jared, but this is what I expected when you bring in 2 key players to that bench. So I'm okay with where they're at, but let's say they start blowing a couple more games, with double-digit leads.
If they're up 15 tonight and they end up losing at home, then
I may have a different tune.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but right now I'm okay. I'm not concerned too much about what's going on. No. Let's keep it moving, guys.
Now let's get talking about tonight.
Yeah. Blazers play 3 games between now and the next time we meet. Tonight, Saturday at the Moda Center. All right, let's start. Thunder 39-25, Suns 15-51, and then Tuesday at the Clippers 37-29. Which games do the Blazers win? Which games do the Blazers lose?
I'll take the lead on this one.
Go for it,
so
man.
Jared, a couple weeks ago, as we mentioned constantly throughout last week's podcast,
it was a thing of beauty. It really was.
Picked a clean sweep for the Blazers to go 4-0 to start that road trip.
Yeah.
And I'm going to roll the dice a little bit here, Jared, although we'll see what you end up doing. You may end up matching me.
I believe last week you said that I was going to pick them to win 90% of their games the rest of the way. So.
Yes. Well, then hopefully you did pick the same way I did. I think the Blazers are going to win. I'm going to roll the dice and say they win all 3 of these upcoming games. Tonight is easily the most foolish pick to pick the Blazers to beat the Thunder because they have had no answer for Paul George or Russell Westbrook all season. But the Thunder are playing their worst basketball since the very first week of the season. And it's at home. I know the Blazers in the past have had issues with first home games after long road trips coming out a little bit sluggish. But I feel this is a game ever since they lost that third one to Oklahoma City that they have had circled. not only because they get to play at home, but because they know they need to beat the Thunder. And so I think that they get off to a hot start tonight. I think it ends up being close, but I think in the end, being at home, I'm going to give the Blazers the nod tonight against Oklahoma City. The Suns is not worth talking about. The Clippers are tricky because we all thought when they traded Tobias Harris.
Right, it was tank time.
Yeah, they were going to go that way. Well, they've gone the complete opposite. But for whatever reason, it's a back-to-back for the Clippers. They play Boston the night before. And I just feel like Portland last year, I think I underestimated this year, or Portland, what they do in the second half of seasons. Yeah. And I'm not going to do that, at least again this week.
Second half of regular season.
On games I'm 50-50 on, which I am with the Clippers, in the second half, post-All-Star break, I'm going to give the Blazers the nod. So I'm going to do it again and say they go 3-0 over this upcoming week of games.
Wow.
Let me ask you.
Optimistic Nate.
There you go.
I am not used to this.
Do you agree or disagree with Nate?
On what?
On 3-0.
That's all I need to know.
Well, if I agree, then I'm completely giving it away, right?
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, we're getting.
But if you disagree, you don't.
All right, I don't disagree with his picks.
Oh, there we go. What did you pick?
3-0.
You picked 3-0?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, we're done.
What?
We're done.
All right, I'm going to walk through this really quickly, though.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was going to pick the Thunder to win tonight.
Oh, did we convince you?
Well, no.
Oh.
But you did a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, tell me if you've heard this before, and you kind of mentioned the first game back home after a long road trip is just like another road game.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's established fact.
I mean, arguably, it's the longest they've had to travel during the road trip, Memphis to Portland.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they did get yesterday off, and that's good. But you're still tired, and now you have to reacclimate yourself to the demands of home life. You've got a wife and children who, demand your attention, and that's great.
I didn't even know we were getting into this.
Yeah, and so all those things make it so that
I don't have
that
to worry
first
about that.
game back after a long road trip is always, arguably the toughest game of that road trip.
Yeah.
And so I was going to pick the Blazers to lose, but I decided to go and look and see if that has held true for the Blazers this season. And in home games, coming back after a road trip of 2 or more games this season, the Blazers are actually 6-2.
All right.
And that includes wins against the Raptors and the Warriors.
Yeah.
And so the Thunder have already had their 3 wins this season against the Blazers. It's time for the Blazers to win one. So I'm going to go out on a limb and pick them to beat the Thunder tonight. Suns, I know you said we don't have to talk about them, but give some credit to the Suns. They are playing hard. They've won 4 of 5.
I'll give you this.
And the Blazers are still going to beat them.
I'll give you this. It is an ultimate trap game for the Blazers,
Yes.
that game against the Suns.
Yep.
It is that.
And I don't know. The Clippers, they've won 3 in a row. Road wins against the Kings and the Lakers, but it's that back-to-back. Playing Boston the night before, that's tough. So I'm going to give the Blazers the edge.
And the Clippers haven't been very good at home. They have 18 wins.
They've been about the same on the road as they've been
Yeah, and that's
They're
what
not
kind
more
of surprised
dominant
me
at
about
home.
them.
Yeah.
You know who knows a thing or two about getting swept? I don't think they like getting swept. I think the idea
Good
of getting
call.
swept
Yeah.
That was a deep cut.
kind of
I did not expect
frustrates
that.
the Blazers, and I think that's one of those things that they take personally.
You don't think they like 4-game sweeps?
No, I'm just throwing that out there.
Sticks with them a little.
I have a feeling that kind of matters to them.
Yeah.
And so it just adds to this. And I was thinking about just what Paul George has done to the Blazers. I mean, it's just straight up disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is averaging 40 points a game. So if they can hold him under 40, I think they've got a shot to win this game at the Moda Center.
That's not his highest scoring average against a team this year.
Jared and I had this exact conversation yesterday.
It was against the Brooklyn Nets. He's averaging 47 points.
Man, I mean, that is just... Come on.
MVP
He's averaging,
stuff, man.
He's averaging 39.8 against the Jazz. I mean, Paul George is just great.
So if he scores under 40, the Blazers win.
That's the barometer right there.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But, I've got him going 3-0 as well this week.
I'm shocked you do, too.
Yeah.
I thought Jared might. There's no way I thought you would also go 3-0.
As you
astutely
so
pointed out.
eloquently explained,
Yes, that
the
sounds
trend
like Nate.
is your friend.
Ooh, I like
And that's
that.
how they roll. second half
Jared's
of the
usually the
season.
ones coming up with sayings like that. The
I can't
trend
even
is your
follow
friend.
that. But I'm going to.
There we go. Go for it.
Guys, it is that time.
Woo! That's what we came for, man.
It's the best time.
Yes.
It's Rip It time. Hey, guys, no story time today.
Oh.
Can he be the
Sorry
Paul
to
George
disappoint.
of the podcast?
Yes.
He can be the Paul George of the 3 on 3 Blazers podcast. He's also the host of Rip It. Take it away, Max.
Thanks, guys. Worth noting about Paul George, he missed 3 games earlier in the week with a shoulder soreness.
Correct.
And he came back, and I think he had a pretty poor shooting game in their loss to the Pelicans. So he might be working his way back through the rust a little bit. So I'm thinking for sure he's going under 40.
Oh. Was that a Rip It question?
No.
Oh.
I love it, though.
The Thunder have not been playing well.
I was going to go over on that Rip It question, just for the record.
Well, it's great to be back, guys, with another week of Rip It.
And a win for the Blazers?
Yes.
All right, sorry. It's your time, Max.
We've seen the best week of Rip It ever with Orlando going 5 for 5. The best win, I should say.
Oh, I thought.
We've also seen the
foreshadowing.
worst win in Rip It ever, which was you, Jared, last week.
A win is a win is a win, guys.
I mean, that was rough, but you came through 2 out of 5. You called it yourself. You said it's the worst Rip It win ever.
Yeah.
Grinding it out, man.
Let's find out how you
you
did last week. We're going back.
Hey, I'm rooting for you.
Nate's first title on the line here.
We're going back to the Raptors game.
All right.
The question was, which player will grab the most rebounds? Al-Farouq Aminu, Kawhi Leonard, or Pascal Siakam?
Oh.
Jared, you said Siakam. Orlando, you did as well.
Weak
Nate,
guys.
you went with Kawhi Leonard.
Heck yeah.
Aminu only had 2 rebounds.
All right, good.
Non-factor. Kawhi Leonard, 3.
Oh!
Pascal Siakam, 4.
No! Kawhi only had 3 rebounds? He had like a billion points. I assumed a couple of them were offensive.
Next question, same game. The question was most assists, and it was between Toronto's Jeremy Lin, Yusuf Nurkic, and new Raptors center Marc Gasol. You all picked different guys. Yeah, that was a surprise to me. They started in a matchup with Nurkic, and that worked pretty well.
Yeah, it did.
So Jared, you went with Jeremy Lin. Orlando, you went with Yusuf Nurkic. Nate, you went with Gasol.
Yes, I did.
Gasol was the winner.
Oh yeah, there we go, baby.
6 assists for him. Lin with 1, Nurkic with 3.
Never go against Gasol v. Nurkic.
Yeah, that seems to be the pattern.
He owns Yusuf.
Blazers at Hornets. The question was, which All-Star would score the most points? Damian Lillard or Kemba Walker?
Oh.
Jared, you and Nate went with Kemba. Orlando, you went with Dame. And it was Dame.
Yeah.
Well done,
Dame time, 23 to 18. It was actually Hood time.
Yeah.
True.
Yes.
But Dame outscored Walker.
Kemba was.
Yeah,
he was
not
missing.
good.
He
some,
started terrible. It was
He was
like 1
missing
for 10 or
shots
something.
that you're just. They're good looks.
Yeah.
Man, that so easily could have been a Blazers loss.
Very. I mean, if Hood didn't go off, they probably would have lost.
He's responsible for that one.
Yeah.
The question for the Grizzlies game was who would make the most 3-pointers? Justin Holiday of the Grizzlies, Jake Layman, or new Grizzlies C.J. Miles?
Ooh, Miles played well.
Orlando, you went with Jake Layman all the way.
Slayman. It's his birthday today, by the way, I believe.
All right.
Happy
wow.
birthday, Jake Layman.
How old is he, do you know?
No.
26?
4.
Guys usually play well on their birthdays.
Oh.
So let's watch for that
So you're
tonight.
calling the bounce back after the road trip.
I'm calling 25 plus.
Oh,
for the-
Layman!
He is better.
Slayman
He's
is
better
back.
at home, guys. He's better at home.
But in the Grizzlies game, he went 0 for 2 from 3.
Oh, that's
so
so bad. So
rough.
Wasn't his day. Wasn't his day.
Justin Holiday, Jared, was your pick, and he went 0 for 2 as well.
That's what you get for picking a Husky.
C.J. Miles, 2 for 4.
Oh, yeah.
Well done.
Both in the 4th quarter, if I remember correctly.
So right now, just an update. I think it's 2
for me.
2-1.
It all comes down to the wild card question of the
Oh,
week.
my gosh. And my 2 picks have been Grizzlies so far.
It's on the line right here, man.
The question was an over-under.
Look how excited he is.
He's never been here before.
It was an over-under, the wild card question.
no.
We're talking about steals. It was over-under 3.5 total steals for Damian Lillard in those 3 games.
Oh, I know what I picked.
Jared, you and Orlando said over 3.5 steals.
Please be under. Please be
Nate,
under.
you said under.
Please
Come
be
on,
under.
Jay.
So, in the Raptors game, no steals for
Oh.
Lillard.
Yes.
But he followed that up with 2 steals
No!
against the Hornets,
No!
which means he needed 2 steals against Memphis to go over. Total steals against Memphis, 0.
I did it! It's all happening.
Which means he's done it, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Our long nightmare is over. Nate Hanson wins Rip It, 3 out of 5. Orlando, 2 out of 5. Jared, 1 out of 5. Congratulations, Nate.
Oh, man,
Bravo.
this is...
Speech.
I want to thank the Academy. I want to thank CJ Miles, who I didn't know was on the Grizzlies until I picked him. Marc Gasol, thank you very much for dominating Yusuf Nurkic. And Damian Lillard, thank you for looking out for your homie over here at KGW. I appreciate
It's a
it.
small price to pay, losing to the Grizzlies, but winning a Rip It.
I feel
How
that's
in the world do you not thank Max Bar?
Well, I think
Come
Max.
on, man.
I literally think Max every day. Literally every day. I say thank you, Max, for something because he's so great.
Oh, man.
And I also want to thank you two for being so humble during the first 4 months when I did not win.
Especially Jared.
Yes.
We just gave you something you could look up to.
Yes. Well,
All right, congratulations. Let's
Yeah,
see if Nate can
that's
follow
awesome,
it up with another
I
win
feel
this week.
I feel a streak coming.
Oh, wow.
Well,
This could be a thing.
let's quickly get to this
I
week's
feel like
Rip It.
sweet.
He learned to be humble from me.
Starting with Blazers versus Thunder tonight. Our first question, we're talking about hustle stats. The question is, which player will finish with the most combined steals and blocks? Russell Westbrook, who averages about 2.5 combined steals and blocks. Maurice Harkless, who has been really hot in those categories lately, about 2.5 in March. Or Yusuf Nurkic, who is averaging about 2.5 on the season. So most combined steals and blocks, the choices are Westbrook, Harkless, or Nurkic. Jared, what do you think?
Russell Westbrook.
Orlando?
I have to agree with Jared.
Nate?
Harkless, man.
All right.
Nice.
I ride with
I
him.
like
Nice. I like that as well.
Next question, same game. Which team will make more three-pointers? Both teams average exactly 11 makes per game.
Wow. And,
Orlando?
they have the same record.
Oh, I stay true to this. Blazers at home.
All right, Nate?
I'm going Blazers as well.
Jared?
Just to mix it up, I'll go Thunder.
Attaboy, that's what I'm
Right.
talking
Jared's
about.
got Russell Westbrook dominating, the Thunder making more threes, and the Blazers winning. That's what he's got going right now.
One thing I'll say is
I'm not matching up well with my pick.
if it is the Thunder making more threes, Paul George is going to have to make a lot of threes.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
averages about 4 makes per game,
Yeah.
which is insane.
He'd be going well over 40.
Blazers versus Suns. Which big man will grab the most rebounds? Yusuf Nurkic, Suns rookie DeAndre Ayton, or Enes Kanter? We'll start with Nate on this one.
Ayton.
All right, Jared?
Cantor.
I'm also going Cantor.
Oh,
Whoa.
I thought I was the president of the Cantor fan club. You two over here.
Just trying to mix it up. I think I'm shook by Nate's win. I don't know what I'm
Doesn't know how to
doing.
react. It's like he learned the
I'm over here
world's round.
sweating.
Wow, this is amazing.
Oh, man. Blazers at Clippers. The question is, which player will score the most points? Is it Danilo Gallinari, CJ McCollum, or Sweet Lou Williams? And Jared, you're going to lead us off here.
Not glorified Lou Williams is
You
not an
just
option
took the
in
words
this
right out of my mouth. Glorified Lou Williams.
Which
is my
Lou
pick.
Williams is going to score more points?
Hey, Lou Williams is awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. It's
It's
not
not-
an insult.
No, it was definitely an insult when you
Man,
said it.
Lou Williams
in the
is
context
incredible.
of the conversation. it
I was just saying CJ was operating as a scorer only at the time.
yes.
So is Lou your pick here?
Yes.
Orlando?
Real Lou?
Real Lou.
Who was my other pick again? Or who are my options?
Gallinari or CJ?
Let's go Gallinari.
Nate?
Yeah, I'm also writing Gallinari.
All right. And that brings us to the wild card question of the week. And the question is, how many Blazers will score in double figures against the Phoenix Suns?
Oh gosh, last time we did this, we were terrible.
Yeah,
it was
we
with
were.
Warriors.
That
I
was
think-
with Warriors,
I think
yeah.
Jared said 6 Warriors were going to score in
He
double
did.
figures.
And they had two.
Which made sense at the time, but it was way off. So this is Blazers in double figures against the Suns. How many do you think, Orlando?
Let's go 4.
All right, Jared?
4.
Nate?
5.
5. Okay. We'll find out how you did next week.
I thought about going 6 just to mock Jared, but 5's going to end up winning. I got to get this Ribbit streak going. Yeah, I got to get the streak going here.
Yeah. All right, that's another week of Ribbit.
There we go.
That's good stuff, gentlemen.
Woo! I honestly did not see that win coming. No. I have to say,
No.
I didn't come prepared. Like I told myself I was going to buy myself some party stuff so I could like make some sounds and whatever, so all the podcast listeners would love it. You know, because that's exactly what they love.
Imagine if you brought that to the podcast though and lost.
No, I would have kept it hidden back here because I got this little area in my corner. That
you just have it in the roof and it just opens up.
Yeah, it just
confetti falls.
There we go. Yeah, I had it all planned out, but no, I feel like I let my celebration down.
You did.
I didn't even have a speech prepared.
Like
although I did get to take a shot at Jared.
The trash talk though was subpar for you.
Yeah, I had that.
You're better than that.
He'll come back with it next week. I think he's shook by his win too.
I am genuinely surprised.
We're all shook. Let's bring it
Thank
on.
you, CJ Miles.
We love those 5-star reviews. Please subscribe to the podcast. We appreciate you joining us. We'll see you back here next time.